Christy. Yes. That reminds me. Hang on. Let me just pin a message. Anyway, right. Now that's sorted. That's a good thing. So, I remember a couple of weeks, I've been saying for a couple of days now that a couple of weeks ago the camera started working. And when I say the camera is working, the controls for the camera from a buttons and stuff point of view was working. And it's dawned on me that it seems to possibly work after my PC's been on for around 24 hours. So I probably need to feed that back to the idiotic people who make the software, because the same people who make the buttons make the camera, and it's their software not talking to their software. So I shall have to feed that back to them, because they've asked me to reinstall it for about the 20,000th time, and I'm not in the mood. So, but let's bring up the pillow. There you go. So let's get into it. There is a chance we will finish this today, which will be a good thing. Well, this triangle, anyway. So you go over there. Don't need you. You need to be a bit shorter. So, Christy, how are you? This one's getting a bit short. That's a really good point. Where did that go? There it is. That's right, for a horrible moment I couldn't remember where I put the... Because I tried to tidy up a little bit yesterday, and that's always fatal for losing things. So, you never lose things quicker than when you've just tidied up. Yeah. Make you a little bit short. You. And you need to be shorter. That sounds like a good plan. Sounds like a plan. I just wish to lace... It's not that I want it to be a faster hobby, but I do wish that you could do ideas quicker. That, you know, a bit like knitting swatches. That, you know, in an hour or so you could make a swatch and decide if something was working. Right, so you need to, let's think, 1, 2, 3, 4. This seems to be possibly too many. Oh no, so you're out and you're in. That's right. Okay, that's good. I just wish that you could kind of... It's the pins. I think if it wasn't for the pins, if everything just kind of stuck without the pins, and so all you had to do was worry about the bobbins, I think it would be, you know, you could do pretty well. And to be fair, whenever you watch the super fast people that they show videos of on YouTube and the like, they never show you a bit. They show you where they do a whole great ton of stuff usually half stitch or such, and then they kind of go with their hands and then like pin. There's a lot of it and pin. It's never. Yeah. I did come to a bit of a decision what I'm going to do with these squares, because obviously having spent many months making them and now kind of, you know, gone off them a little bit. It's not that I hate them, I just know they're not going to be the neck curtain that I want, which is why we're abandoning and turning to strips. And you know, with that, it's, as I say, it's not that I hate them, it's just that I know that it's not what I wanted for the, you know, it was not the visional thing that I wanted. So, what I think I'm going to do with them, and my brain has not rejected the idea, which it is usually pretty quickly to do, is sew them together, like I was going to do curtain-wise, right? But then attach them to one of the cloths that I have, or to, you know, get a new bit of cloth, and so that I have a lace kind of over cloth, but with a cloth, so that it doesn't catch on everything, to cover my work with. So, for example, if I pull out this, because this is a nice dark colour, if I had this, but this was then on one side, I'd sewn the lace onto it, I think that would work quite nicely. To have a kind of a lace cover, if that makes sense. Makes up for the fact that I'm not overly planning on using it for a curtain, but it would be useful, but pretty at the same time. I.e. stop it being a just, you know, a memento of wasted effort. So that's my current thoughts as to what will happen with this. Because I've got 9, they come out square, so that's a thing. But my brain is also very much determined to try making one of my test strips, but in Buck's point, because then the join would be possible to be 100% invisible, and well, why second best, because last thing I want to do is get halfway through the strips and change my mind again. So, you know, that I need to be a little bit more on board, I think, this time. Not that I wasn't on board when I started the square, I was dead keen on the squares, but having grown, I think that's the phrase, having grown and understood myself a little better, yeah, it was not a thing. The squares, I originally thought the squares would be quite crafty looking, a bit like, you know, like crochet squares. Nah, not at all. I think it's just going to look tacky and horrid as a curtain. I think as other things it could look nice. So, for example, if it was a bedspread, it could probably work because, you know, it would give it a bit of strength and structure as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But as a curtain, no, squares I don't think work for a curtain. That strikes me as a false idea. I forgot, did I twist those or not? No, I didn't. But yeah, attaching it to that red cloth or the maroon cloth seems like a good plan. And doing it in a Bucks Point style is also very much a potential. So I feel somewhat that I must try. I must try it out to prove or disprove the validity of the idea. So not only have I got potentially a third test strip to make the full width example. I know I haven't joined the others together yet. Have I got the brain the size of a peanut today or what? Has something to do with the fact that we started stopping the stream about 3:30, 4:45. I actually didn't go to bed till 5, so I stayed up far too late last night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, well, also, according to Mr. Amazon, my Amazon package now arriving between 2:15 and 4:15. Pretty much, hey, we've sensed that you've started streaming. We're going to deliver it while you're streaming. We will require a signature for your package. Whatevs. I'm trying to get into a habit of twisting them before I put the pin in. And I'm not doing very well remembering. And it's a bit like, did I leave the gas on? Did I lock the car? Every time I think about it, I can't remember whether I had or I hadn't. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's put you on a stick. There. Bin. So, that reminds me, I was going to, let me quickly, bear with me a second. Hello, Naughty Cat. Bear with me 1 minute. Bear with me 1 minute. That one. Undo that. Does that stop that working? Yes, I think it does. That's probably not what I want to do then. Is that still working? No, I think it is. Let's have a look. No, that's suddenly not working again. This does annoy me somewhat. I've just noticed that every so often that stops working. Okay. Anyway, let's get down to what I was going to do, which is I'm going to turn. I have some news for people, so I am gonna switch off the heartbound music and I'm gonna play actual music at you. Now it's not going to be too loud, it's going to be backgroundy, but we're going to listen to actual music today. For we did a test yesterday, and not only did it not appear in my YouTube recording, it did not appear on the VOD. So, we're going to push our luck and we're going to listen to tunes. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Actual music. Because I'm tired of watching other streamers do it, so I thought I would. So, yesterday, we put a lot of effort in. And as far as I can tell, this will not go on the Twitch recording. Well, I don't really want to get a copy strike, but you're allowed 3. So if I give this one a go and see what happens, right? And we can try it again another time, you know? Because if it works, hallelujah, right? Because we don't have to listen to Heartbound all the time. That would be nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's not that I hate the Heartbound music. It really isn't. But it would be nice to occasionally listen to something else. Because one of the things that has always puzzled me slightly, and bear with me on this side here, so if you're playing a game and clearly the music and the parts of the game are copyright, why is it okay to broadcast that but not okay to broadcast music? But the sounds on the game are copyright. It's their music, their theme tune, well, that's okay. Feels a little selective. Anyway, we should be able to listen to this, so we're going to do that today. And I will warn you, Amazon, where this is coming from, do have, and so for people watching on YouTube, you are really confused, because, and obviously if you're watching the recording, you're also confused because you were near it. Yeah, Disney is very harsh. Um, but I've heard so many streamers playing proper music, and yet they don't get told off for it. So I'm kind of, well, why can't I? You know. So I did a bit of a test yesterday. So we did a short bit because you're allowed to use like under 10 seconds. So we did a bit yesterday, and I listened back to both bits. So the Twitch saving and my YouTube uploading, and neither had "Don't Stop Believing," which was the tune that came up. Oh dear God, do we really need the proclaimers? I said music. So yeah, I know it's on fairly quiet, but that's so that I don't have to shout over the top of it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. If this goes really badly, I won't do it again. It's the short answer. But it does seem that as long as you're doing stuff, I mean, I've got a friend who constantly streams and has music like this in the background, right? And as I say, sorry to all of those who are watching a recording, right? Because hopefully you have no idea what we're talking about. But I just kind of, it always makes me feel really sad that I couldn't do the same. So I spent a lot of time and effort trying to work out. And the problem with, like a lot of these things, is that you can't test it without being online. So, like Naughty Celt, my dear friend, you should be able to do exclamation mark camera, as the bin message says, and move the camera around. 2, 3, 4, 5. And zoom in and shit. Now, bear in mind, it won't actually let you move far, but you should be able to move the camera about. Well, that's part of the reason Intel stopped calling their processors like, 386, because you can't copyright a number. But you can apparently copyright colours, which I find slightly dumb. Tone, that does sound a tad stretching, shall we call it. case you're wondering, it is Amazon's All Ears. So you get variety of crap from the ears. Does seem odd. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You back there. So yeah, if I do get told off for this one, that's fine. But we know where we stand then, don't we? Twitch is generally quite quick on the telling off front, I think. It either just silences it, or it'll say we detected bad things and silence it. Because I think I've had that one before. Can't remember. Oh, it detected the TV in the background. I had the TV on, and they could hear it just enough, so they muted the entire video. They don't just mute the bit with it in. No. They muted the entire video, and it was like a 15-hour stream or something. It was ridiculous. Right, let's move these piles around. Okay. Yeah, but this is... I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm fairly confident that we did all right, so with that in mind, let's... Because, you know, I did as much testing of it as I could, so it shouldn't appear on the recordings. And I can hear it, which makes change to the heartband music, because I can actually hear this one. I turned it on so I could hear it. But then it doesn't come out through the speaker. So, just be great. If I start singing, feel free to, like, you know, shout at me, because I do have a habit of singing. You know. And while I can sing well enough to be in a choir, I am not a pop singer. This is a very different style of singing. I'm much more of a church style singer in that sense. I was a chorister. Only I don't really have the range for anything, so. But I also know I don't have the range for it, unlike my mother, who didn't, and was like sitting next to a wailing cat. I loved her dearly, well, till the later years, when I realised how bad she was. This way. And so yes. So, despite the fact that the camera has not been working for ages, the camera. Seems to work as long as I leave the PC on overnight, which is a bit weird. But it does mean that if you want to play with the camera, you can. So you can zoom in and zoom out a bit. You can't move a lot, so don't get too excited, but you can move it and fight amongst yourselves. That sounds like a plan. So yes, when the Ramsay man comes, I will have to go and answer the door. I'm going to apologise for that in advance. Because as I said, ping, email, hey, I see you've started streaming. We will arrange for the man to come and knock on the door. Cheers for that. See if I can see him coming. I like a bit of warning when he comes. Oh, it's raining. What a shame. in. This happens to me a lot. Probably should go and see a doctor about my hip. I know what they'll say. Sake, people. Still too long. You're just getting longer for the fun of it. Can you stop? Oh, that goes the thunder. It's alright, big kids. It's funny because the sun's out now, but yeah, it's alright, pups. Arr! It's alright. There's no need to be grumpy. It's perfectly fine. It's the weather doing weather things. Arr. I know, I can hear it too. It's all right. Yes, I know. Yes. Amy, I can hear it. In case you are unaware, I have ears, which is how I know you're a whiny little girl. Yes, you, madam. You are a hot dog. Big yawn. Yes. Is that your intellectual view on it? Will you stop knocking the damn cushion off the couch? It's fine. I can hear it too. And the only thing that's annoying me is you, dog. I know it's terrible. Shut up. Amazon man's here. Come on.
Someone is at the front door.
There we go. Amazon man. Jeez. He was grumpy. Right. Here, sign this. I think I'm going to get glass splinters. His phone was absolutely mullered. So I'm just taking a picture of the fact that the seal on it is already popped. So in case it's been tampered with. The other side hasn't, so. But just in case, you never know. And it is one of those ones where you've got to lift the entire top off, so. Yeah. But, just in case, always best to take a photo. This comes pre-assembled, okay. Let's put the last one together. So, I have more buttons. So, bear with me a moment. Doo-doo. I'll take it out of the back of the little one. Pass it through the back of the big one. And plug it in. Like that. Which way up is it? That way round. There we go. And now I have Pretty buttons, look. But of course I've now got to transfer all my old buttons over to the new one. Yeah, that's a good thing. Welcome to new buttons. Oh, that's nice of it. Hadn't thought about that. I assumed it would let me copy my buttons, but it doesn't see the other options. Well, that's not something to do right now, is it? Well, pants. Okay, let's... Oops. Great red ball disaster. Right, let's take that off then. Oh, I know it works, that's always a good thing. But... Dee-doop. Work on that later then, when I write down what they all do, because it took ages to set them up. Just plugging the old buttons back in so that I've got control of the what's going on. There we go. Have to do that later then. That's fine. She says throwing the case on the floor. Yep. Gives me something to do after stream while it's uploading. Okay. I might be able to actually. I can copy them. There's a drop down I didn't spot, but we'll worry about that another time, because you don't really want me spending half a day poking around with that. So I assumed it was going to just show my profile and leave lots of space, but as it didn't. Some of the other ones, hang on. You're too long. If you fall off the bottom, you're too long. That's how this works. And again, there's a bit of me wanting to try pushing it up, but then it just, because it adds, obviously, the width of the block, which is what, it's got to be 4 odd inches. It moves it a lot. Let's do it. 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 move you all up a bit. There you go. Alright. You can all move over there. And you get to slot in at the bottom. Like that. Move this down just a little bit so it's a bit closer to me. Right. So, we need you, and we need you. So, you feel a little low to the bottom one, and that's because it is, but it's not. That's okay. We're all right. We are. It's not wrong. We're not wrong here. It just. Scoop you up. And then I need 4 of you. No, stop falling off your pile. You 4 need to come in. And we over twist. Right, there we go. Now I need to redo my pile of bobbins because they got very offended by the move. You two are behaving. It's you that's not. Right. Move you. Okay. We need 4 of you. We do. Scooch. Oh, itchy, itchy, itch, people. Go down the short way. Go the short route. I think that's the simple answer. Where at all possible. Least amount of bobbins. Ooh. Like someone shot me in the back of the head. Bear with me a moment. Wow. That really hurt. Literally felt like someone had whacked me in the back of the head. Made even weirder by the fact that it wore off so quick. I mentioned yesterday that my co-worker flew back in the country. He's just texted me, well, some idiot had a cold on the plane. It's not right. It's not right. I got that wrong somehow. Let's try this again. Why does my left hip hurt so much? I think I need to do this. Now, my back's not happy either. I'm not doing very well on this today, am I? No. For goodness sake. What? So if any of you are listening, what would you say this piece of music was called? And who was it by? because it's just told me not what I was expecting it to say. Okay. It's just me that was wrong then. I always thought this was Pink Floyd. I knew it was Whole of the Moon, but I thought this was Pink Floyd. Yeah, there's often times when I listen and I go, that's not a British one. So, you know, I don't know where Amazon decided to pick its music from, but it's not. Sometimes it has British stuff on there, and I know that didn't really make it to America, so I guess it just kind of randomly picks. And I really thought this was Pink Floyd. Yeah, I am correct. Yeah. Fair enough. Well, I'm very proud to say I did not have 80s hair. That's all I can say to that. And it's not a case of I did and you can't prove it. No, I actually didn't. I never spent that much time on my hair, so I never had 80s hair. God, how is it so hot? I've still got hair. Some of it's a lot greyer than it used to be, obviously. I'm not doing too bad on the grey front, but you know, it's definitely there. It's definitely happening slowly. I mean, considering a couple of my friends are a few months older than me, and I literally mean a few months older than me. His wife is rapidly going blind. She is grey as, and as I say, she's like 6 months older than me. It's quite scary. Yeah, sort that. Miserable bobbin. Hello, hello. How you doing, Sugarbell? Give me a pin, you wretched animals. You up there? No, you're going to have a cascade failure now. Of course you are. Wretched animals. Stick. It's going to be like that. Stay there. It suddenly got ridiculously hot. It wasn't too bad a minute ago. When it was raining, it was alright. I'm not going to say it was cool, but it was alright. Now I feel like I'm on fire. It's just... I feel like the fire's going and the central heating's on. It's ridiculous. Now, it could be, you know, we can all argue hot flashes, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure it is actually this warm. Have a bit of a... Alexa, what's the temperature on the downstairs thermostat?
The downstairs thermostat temperature is 25 degrees.
25, that's too hot. Indoors, 25 is too hot. Liz does not do 25. She can help it. And you need to move just a little bit, Mr. Microphone. Can you just like over there a little bit? Because you're in the way. Head behind you. definitely is related to the weather. I am officially old, people. I'm officially old. I'm not having a bad Sunday, but bits of me ache. So my back's hurting because, well, I obviously woke up and breathed or something. And every time I try and move my left leg, my left hip complains about it. Like someone put a ball bearing in the middle of my joint for a laugh. So there's like a lump and a grindy bit. But it could be worse. It definitely could be worse. Look about. How are you? I know how that goes. Yeah, you can tell it's warm and my computer fan keeps kicking in. That and I need to drink more liquid. The ads are about to start. When they do, I'm going to go and refill my drink. So, just waiting on Amazon, well, Twitch, Amazon, same shit, to sort its life out. There it goes. Back in a minute. Alexa, fan on. Have that on while we're doing it. Right, so I'm clearly back. Right, let's get on. You get back in there. getting there, getting there. Where's your pin? A pin I can steal. This one there, look. There's... Let's play pokey poke. Where's the other one? Oh, there it is. Let's put these in. I bought this record. Single. Says adding to the problem before fixing it. Calculation in progress. Please wait. Gonna say 49? No, it can't be. It divides by 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 42? No, can't be 42. Dumbass. That makes it 40, and it's not 40 either. It's somewhere in the region of 40 pairs of bobbins. I'm sure it's more than that though. Maybe there's a bobbin I didn't count. Some. I've done so many of these you'd think I'd remember by now. I know it divides by 5. Which is why the strips I've been making, I've got a pile of strips here, aren't quite the same number, but it's almost the same number. I can't remember how many of them there are either. I seem to remember I made 90 something bobbins, so. Well, it's better than trying to do it in one piece. Imagine starting at the top and having all of those bobbins, because then you need twice as many. That's a scary thought. It's part, I mean, there are lots of pictures of women with huge bolster pillows, with like, you know, pile like this, but consistently all the way across, and that gives me anxiety. I'm okay with this many. I could cope with a few more as long as they behave. But if I was going to go big, then I'd really have to work up to that, I think. I mean, there's quite a lot of pictures around the internet of people who've got, you know, they still do. I think as long as you've got a way of controlling them, it makes sense. But in so many of the pictures, especially on a bolster cushion, they have like a metre long bolster cushion, so obviously this is scaled down, but they kind of go, work do you work, fling, right? They don't place, they fling them over the top. Fling, pick, fling, pick, fling. And then when they want to come back, they just pick them up. If I flung them, Christ, I put them in strips and they still don't always come out in the right order. So if you just go over the back, how? I mean, obviously practice. And I will say, when you've got only a few, so if you've got like 8-10 pairs, you can kind of do a bit of the fling thing. But if you've got really fine thread and like, you know, 1,000 odd bobbins, no, fling is not the answer, because the reason it gives me anxiety is not because of the quantity of bobbins, but if they're not all retrained and stuck down kind of thing. Well, it would be. And the bit that gets me is that, you know, if the dog came and bashed my table and knocked all these bobbin holders, some of them would probably come off and there'd be a bit of sorting out to do. But if you've got 1,000 bobbins and you're just going, fling, I don't want to spend 4 hours working it out. Well, holders are generally a good answer to that. But having watched so many of these women just kind of going, fidget, 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 fling, fidget, 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 fling, and you're just like, I have not got your guts, lady. Because if I flung them, it would take me 6 hours to find them again. And I have not got the patience for that. I'd have taken it all out in the garden and you know, yeeted it into a stream or something. You know, it's no. Utmost respect for the ladies. Do not get me wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. So utmost respect for them and all of that kind of stuff. But no, just no. It is not going to be a thing. Or at least not until I grow some. And I'm not planning on growing some. You know, we all know what I mean. That's not going to be a plan. I don't expect that to happen. Really don't. I mean, I'd love to think I could have that level of confidence. And certainly with a smaller number, yeah, probably. But the more? No. The more there are, the more the no, you know. And they keep crossing over, which is proving infuriating. Which is part of the reason I like my bobbins. My bobbins don't tend to stick on each other, because these knobbly bits at the end, they kind of interlock and try and lock together a bit. I don't remember this song. At least I don't recognise it yet. Well, one thing I will say. Okay, so cake place is a great and glorious thing. And there is a bit of me that really wants to kind of make a big piece, but now there are other types of lace that and you know, you'll hear like lots of talks of things like Chantilly lace, but that's the same as Buckinghamshire Bucks Point lace. It's also the same as Tonda lace, and yet we talk about them like they're insanely different, but they're not. Now, there was a picture, see if I can find it. You know how that goes when I want to find pictures. There was a picture on YouTube the other day that was saved. Here we go. Now, boomer job, sorry. Look at this. I hope that's in focus. I haven't got my glasses on, hang on. Look how intricate that is, and now it's gone all blurry. Focus, you piece of crap. Let me see if I can put it up on my computer, because that way I know it will be in focus. Hang on. Right, so this is where having more buttons will be useful, but until I've got more buttons, again, I've got to do this the hard way. So shrink that down. Look at this. Look at this for a piece of work of art. Now, a large amount of that is a tape style lace, in that you do a few number of bobbins and you work your way around. Yeah, now I want the pattern for that. I would give a body part for the pattern for that, because I want to aspire to be able to make that. Now, I know I'm capable of doing it. It's the anxiety of the number of bobbins and the where do you actually start. Now, logic dictates that you don't start in the middle. You kind of start on an outside edge and work around, right? But it's the fact that there's this wider tape bit, and then in towards the middle, in between the fronds, there's a much thinner tape bit, and then there's like the little kind of sticky bits that join it together, a bit more like Bedfordshire lace. But I really want to try that. I really do. But she didn't answer when I asked her where it was, you know, where she got the pattern from. Which is a little disappointing, because I want that. Now, I'm not entirely sure how big it is. I'm guessing that's actually quite small. But I think if made bigger, out of, you know, bigger stuff, assuming that it is quite small. When I say quite small, I'm talking like, I don't know, that looks to be about 6 inches. I'm thinking more, you know, nearer a metre. So quite a considerable difference. But I'm just judging it by things, because I don't think that's a normal pillow in the top right hand corner. I think that's a pincushion. And I think those are standard kitchen tiles, so the kind of 4-inch kitchen tiles in the bottom. Hence, it's maybe 6, maybe 8 inches. I think it's tiny. But it's really hard to tell. There isn't a lot to scale it with. But I kind of want to make that, or something very similar to that. I mean, one thing that would work quite nicely is if that was a net curtain, but you then made kind of squared corners to make it curtainy, and, you know, with a little bit of decoration, but the main star is the circle in the middle, if you see what I mean. Yeah, I mean, I'm not into flowers, but I could certainly see me doing that. Yeah, I mean, it could be a lot smaller, it could be a lot bigger. I mean, if that was a 12-inch cushion in the top right-hand corner, then it's about a metre. But if that's a pin cushion, well, then it's like 8 inches. I know there's a patio door in the background, but you don't really know how far away that is. And so, yeah, and the fact that there are tiles underneath it, but it's not on the floor, so it's clearly kind of on a table because there's a bit of a chair. I mean, it could be a cushion if that's a chair in the back, to the top right hand corner, but it is just a little bit kind of. So, you know, it could be anything, really. I mean, what you don't want to find out is that it's about 3 inches, because then that really would be quite upsetting, wouldn't it? You're going, you did all of that? No! I wouldn't envy doing that. But I kind of envy doing it if it was a kind of table size, you know. I could see me doing that. But I would not do it if it was that tiny. Not against doing it that tiny because it's tiny, just so much effort for such a tiny space. To make, say, a coaster. No way. No. It's got to be kind of visible from space if I'm putting that much effort in, you know. I want it to be big if I'm going to spend that much effort on it. Hence thinking, you know, if you could do it curtain size, that would be alright. As I say, square off the corners and, you know. Yes, Petra, I'm having done my strips. Well, I've got one more strip I could do, but I'm not holding up a lot of hope for it because, well, I'm not holding. To be honest, it's almost not worth the effort, because I'm kind of already sure that I'm not going to like the options that are on it. I am very tempted to do 2 more, as if to try and pacify my brain cell, because as I said earlier in the stream, and I said last night, my brain has decided that I really need to prove to myself that I'm not doing it in buck's point. And now the reason that is potentially an option is this is buck's point done on a 45-degree grid. And it looks, well, net curtainy, right? So, and if I do that, then I know the join will be perfect because I know how to do the join. And instead of it will be pretty good, it will be good. And, well, how do you not, really? How do you, part of the reason we're going to be ditching doing the squares is because I knew I could do better. And that I knew my brain would no longer be happy staring at squares on a window, right? I think if I had one of those windows that had like the wooden slats on it, my brain would probably be able to cope with it because it would match up kind of thing with slats, for example, as long as it was the same size. If it wasn't, that would be a bad thing. But I think because my windows are just one big sheet of glass for the window, the idea of squares on it is kind of triggering, not that I have an OCD, but that kind of it's going to look wonky feeling. And knowing that it's going to look wonky before we start, well, is kind of bad, right? So, knowing that I could do better, we are converting to the doing better. Because that is what you should do. If you know you can do better, you should do better, right? And it's not that I hate my squares. I've grown a little tired of making the squares, but I don't hate the squares. And the squares do seem to take me a lot longer. And some of that is because I'm constantly jiggering around and having to move the bobbins about a bit, which under the strips, for some reason, doesn't seem to work out quite the same way. Which doesn't make a lot of sense, but some of it is because I'm not doing like rose ground sections and all the rest of it. I'm doing a strip with some motifs in the middle, and the motifs in the middle are like the biggest chunk, and well, the biggest chunk it can be is this big, and so, well, you just never seem to move the bobbins around because they live on one side or the other, and well, they just kind of work out, right? So with that in mind, I am very tempted, and so I am moving to making strips because it does seem to go faster. It will be a bit of a challenge depicting it in the top right hand corner, but we are very able of attaching a tape measure, and I have paper ones that I use for weaving, and what I'll do is exactly what I do with the weaving ones, which is I will put on the back an element of masking tape so you can reuse it, because and then basically I will make a loop of it, and we will work it down with the thing so we can see how far we've got, and I can kind of percentagely fill in a thing column, and we can have the number of columns at the top, and kind of it won't be as we go necessarily, but we certainly can do a depiction at the end of each day as to or the start of the day is where we started, so we can see how far we've come, and because it is going to be a bit repetitive because they're going to be metre long strips, so but we only need 6 of them. I'm hoping to do 7, but we only need 6. Now the reason I want to do 7 is because of symmetry, and because odd numbers are much easier in my brain cell. So 7 is likely to be the thing, and I don't really want to make them any thinner because that means I'd have to think about it more. But I will briefly give thought to making it marginally thinner. But then, of course, all my motifs might differ. So I just need something to poke this down with. There we go, that'll do. Just want something I can put in here and put that down like that. But I'm really looking forward to the strips because, let me put a dark thing down so that you can see them better. We have done a number of strips, so we made 3 and I've joined them together, and I will talk you through why they look the way they do. Now these are all the same, right? These were all done on exactly the same pattern, they're just variations of spiders, right? But I made this one and joined it together with its friend, and as you can see there is this kind of bold line. Now I don't hate it. On seeing this alone was enough to make me want to change, because obviously the hard edge of the squares is hard. This is softer in that there is a hole in the block thing, and as none of you lot are playing with my camera, you miserable toads, after all that effort, let me do this. You can now see that there are holes in between, right? Then you'll notice that the join over here is superior but still not perfect, and that is because these were done by taking 2 pieces like this but overlapping them and then joining together, so that gave us the bold one. This one, 2 pieces like this, and I wove a thread up this side, so hence the ones on the right look bigger because they didn't come back down the other way. So when I attach the next one, let me put it this way. When I attach the next one and zoom back out, there we go, which was, or will be, this one, we will join in both directions to see if we end up with basically an unnoticeable join. Each of these motifs are potential sacrifices, and these, I'm referring to these as audition strips. Each of these motifs are auditioning for a spot on my curtain, and here is strip number 2. Now strip number 2 has a slight disadvantage in that these cloth stitch diamonds started and ended with a rose ground, and it makes this fake looking line down the middle, which I find really distracting and puts me off, to be honest. So this is obviously a normal cloth stitch diamond. I've got a little bit of honeycomb diamond, I've got some rose ground in the middle, and then we did proper diamonds, and we had a cathedral arch spider and a starry spider. And I don't hate any of them. I don't hate any of these motifs. But what I do need to decide is which frigging ones I'm going to use. Now, I also need to decide if I want to space them. Well, they are auditioning. They're all auditioning for a spot on the team, aren't they? Right. So 6 wide. This is how wide my window is. This is how wide the actual window pane is. Okay. So having one more would cover the frame of the window. Now, I need to decide whether I'm doing snakes on every strip, or maybe the outside ones and the middle one, or, because obviously there'll be one there, so this would be, yeah, this would be the middle one, right? So whether I do like snakes on that, or do I keep them at this interval? Or do I space them out further, closer? Because in some ways I don't want it to be too busy, but I also don't want it to be too empty. Otherwise all it is a crap load of ground stitch and it'll get a bit boring. So there has to be something that, because one of the things that is quite nice when with this, and yes, there is a rose ground there, that was deliberate. I'll kind of want to, if nothing else, if this is a day's worth of work, this is one normal average stream's worth of effort to cover a motif and get ready to do the next one for tomorrow. If that's how that turns out, that's fine. I'd love for it to be more. But holding down a full-time job as well does make it awkward. Now, what's going to happen is that I need to decide whether I'm doing the next strip or not, because there's a couple more choices. But to be honest, basically it's one of these diamonds with tallies in, one of these diamonds with a more Bedfordshire lace crossing in the middle, which ends up a little bit like this, but not quite. And a larger cathedral arch, I think, is the options. And I think I added yesterday, I scribbled on a slightly larger one of the hexagons, although obviously they don't look very hexagony, but the hexagons. So with that in mind, what I will do when finished, either I will decide I'm not doing another strip and number these, or I will do the other strip, then number them all. So like 1, 2. Now, all of these are the same. So, 1 and 2. And then there's these, 3, 4, 5, 6, because that's the same as that one. 7, you're the same as those. 8, 9, and then work through these. And I will post it all over the place and get votes. And then tally up the votes. Not that you're deciding. You're just going to aid me in, do I think I'm barking up the wrong tree? Because currently, I know which 2 are appealing to me. But I also know that on the final thing, I know it's a bit like a colour. A colour can really appeal to you, but you wouldn't paint your house in it, right? And I think if I had a full curtain of these 2, it wouldn't look as good as I'd hoped. So, once we pick some, I will need to do a test strip that is of, or at least make a whole strip even, and make the first strip and decide whether we hate it or not. But I do need to decide whether the snakes stay or not. Because if the snakes are on every strip, I think it will look kind of liney. But at the same time, I also don't kind of have a problem with it looking liney, but it would look liney. And so, again, more decisions that I am not really equipped to decide upon without assistance. And part of me says, alternating, so snake, 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 but then that leaves that as not snake. How does that work? Oh no, because there'll be a 7th one. That's all right. So yeah, so every other one maybe has snakes on it, but maybe the snake ones have different motifs to the non-snake ones, or maybe we do, because bear in mind this is a quarter of the end product, right? So this is a quarter of the full length, right? So maybe we do something so that it kind of goes motif, 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 so that you end up with, say, 5 motifs on it. But that the motifs are different on alternating strips. Or do we stick with A, B, A, and, do you do, and then on the next one, B, A, B, A, right? You see my problem. So there's still lots of decisions to make before we actually get going. And it is playing on my mind a lot, because the more I look at it, the more I can't decide, which is not helpful. I am kind of autistically overwhelmed with choices, and my brain just shuts off and says, nope. So yeah, I mean, I kind of like this one. I kind of like this one. I like this. I like this. I like these, but not for a curtain. Like this again, not for a curtain. Kind of like this. This is good. kind of like this. Don't like the rose grounds, but if I ignore the rose grounds, still don't really want the rose grounds. Sorry, at the top and bottom of these. Don't really want to... So again, that's a smaller kind of one of those, but with a edge to it, which makes it the same kind of size, which is a bit of a problem. Because big, small, but you see, that's not really big enough and small enough in my eyes. Hence, things like that cropped up, because making much smaller and much bigger things to have a bit of variety. Because of course the other option is you do like motif A, B, C, D, C, B, A. Then I need more, right? I need more choices. So, and you'd feel that they would have to be similar in size, or at least maybe small getting bigger, fat, small getting smaller, or the other way around. So, you can see why my poor little brain has just melted trying to pick, right? Which is why we're going to have to do some voting, people. So, but I do need to join these together, which is a plan. And I also want to try the Bucks point in case I can do better, because, well, that's a thing. So yeah, I've got an awful lot of work ahead of me still. So, ow. Sorry, I moved my left leg. So yeah, we will have to see how it goes, really. Yeah. Well, here's the other problem, Petra. And I brought this up a few times on my stream. It's going on a window at the top of my stairs. So I walk upstairs to go to bed. The window is on the right. I turn left, go into my room and go to sleep. I will only really see it in the morning as I come out of my bed, going this way, look at it as I'm about to turn right to go downstairs, and I will not see it again all day. So getting bored of it, not so much fun. If it was on my sitting room window, so for example, if I had to make 3 of the buggers, now then that could be a problem, because I'd need it to be 3 windows wide, then yes, that would be much more of an issue, because A, there'd be 3 of them, so it would be much bigger. But also, I would be in here 18 plus hours staring at it. So while my brain does kind of want to go that route at some point, because, yeah, God bless my brain, the truth of the matter is, of course, is that I'm going to see it when I'm really not awake yet. And so as a result of doing it when not, seeing it only when not really awake, to be honest, it could have stayed squares and I wouldn't really have noticed. In fact, I probably would almost forget that I've seen it every morning, right? So let's truly be honest here that is actually true. Is that I really don't pay. Did I just twist those? Yes, I did. I do not necessarily pay a lot of attention. So, you know, hence, if there are mistakes in it, yeah, I can live with that. Because I'm not going to be sitting here staring at it all day. If I was going to be staring at it all day, yeah, it's got to be a lot better than that. Because I used to, as part of my role, although it was not my job really, I had to change tapes in the tape unit at work. And on the tape unit, basically it was sheet of metal with like hole punches in. It's the best way to explain it. And they were in a, you know, a bit like these dots, you know, hole, 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 and then holes offset in between, right? The machine obviously had a bit of a flaw. So although the holes kind of were parallel, at some point it was obviously off at one point, and so some of the holes were a bit close together. And I used to spend 3 hours every Monday staring at these fecking holes, waiting for it to spit out tapes. Because you basically spit out tapes, collect them in a box, hit go, it would fill up the rack. You have to wait for it to fill. Once it's filled, you take the tapes out, put them in the box. And then once it's finished spitting them out, now you can load the new ones in kind of the same manner. You finish up, push it in, hit go, it takes all the tapes out. Once it's finished that, you fill up the next load, right? So it's kind of boring, right? And slightly below my station, I need to point out, but that was the way it worked out. I was the only one who was around to do it, so I did my bit. And I did hate it, actually. I absolutely bequeathed every fucking moment of it. But the truth of the matter is, of course, is it meant that I found myself staring at these blessed holes far too much. And I did this for like 12 years. And I can tell you now, you really start caring that they ain't straight after. No matter how much you might have been able to overlook it at the beginning, after that kind of time, you just walk in and it's all you can look at. All you stare at for hours. So, you know, if it's going to be in here and I was going to stare at it for hours, it would have to be perfect. And one of the biggest problems I have with lace making is that due to the angle and the number of pins, the pins stop me really seeing the detail where the pins are. I can only really see the detail once I've moved the pins, which generally means I have moved on sufficiently that I'm not really prepared to go back that far. So by the time I uncover the problem, it's too late. I have moved on. Yeah, my eyesight's terrible. That's right, it's all you too. And it looked like Liz, which of course my signature does look a lot like you too, but I must get my glasses checked. Now I've had my bonus, maybe that's a thing all day. You're going to turn the corner and need to be longer, so let's pretend that's not the thing. So yes, but I am really looking forward to making strips. I just... One thing that is very hard with bobbins is it's really hard to tension them when all they do is get longer. Not good for your nails trying to pick these pins out. Not that I'm really into having nails, but see, look at this bobbin. What is it doing? No, don't need a pin yet, idiot. You blimey. I thought you got really twisted at this. Just kind of made it up. Okay. that time. said stop getting longer. You've only got a few more to do today, and then you can all have a snooze. But the more you mess me around, the longer it will take you. Right, here we go, triangle finished. One more triangle to go. See, I really had hoped that the strips would be kind of almost ready to go at this point, but we've still got far too many experience and decisions to make. Right, let's take a picture, because we need a picture. Because that's how this works. We take a picture after we're making sure that there aren't too many fingerprints on the lens and it's not all blurry and horrible. The only problem with phone cameras is you tend to put your fingers on it. Right. So, tomorrow, it's Monday tomorrow, isn't it? Oh joy, oh joy. Right, so tomorrow, the plan will be, after work, so bear in mind, obviously you've got to do a day's work first, then I generally eat some food. So, while I can stream as early as 5, I need to explain a little bit about the times I put up. They are the starting time slots. I generally try to go for 2 hours or more each time I stream. Occasionally we've cut it a bit shorter because I've been really tired. But we try to do 2 hours or more, but it will start somewhere between 5 and 7 my time. So that is 24 hours from now. It's 5 o'clock tomorrow. So for those who have not had to bear witness to my joys before, I do try and also end my streams telling you in roughly how many hours I expect, hope, whatever, to be online. So I do thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to go off and mess with my new buttons and copy all of the buttons to the new bigger buttons so that I can do a little bit more and have a few more buttons and kind of cut out a bit of the crap. Of course, if I switch my machine off tonight, the camera won't work tomorrow. None of you played with my camera. I'm really disappointed in you all, just to let you know. And I will forever hold it against you. Please understand that that is true. Because I spent hours on that. But she says, gonna do this while I talk to you. But we will be back. They're not. Oh no, these two have come out of their spots. I just noticed. Which means the tension will be all crappy. Arse. Well, that just suckety poos, doesn't it? Hang on, let me put that down there. Stab that in there. I need to look. Let's move this before I send them flying. Take this off. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, because, that is half the point. And although, it's not like you necessarily learnt anything, that was also not necessarily the point. But I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll be back. Basically, Bobbins usually win, to be honest. So I'm trying to get this pin back in a hole that it's not in and should be. There we go. It's not perfect, but it's a bit better. Give it a bit of... So... Still looks wonky, of course, but... So... Well, the thing is you can play with the camera while I'm working. I don't have to touch it. That was the whole point, that you could zoom in and move around and look about while I'm working, and that you can look at the bit that you want to, and I don't have to sit there and zoom in on things. I mean, obviously I can, and I would, but you can steer it, you can zoom in, zoom out. Bear in mind, there isn't much further out, and there isn't a lot more left and a lot more right, but when obviously you've zoomed in, it makes a lot more difference. So when it's working, that is available. When it's not working, clearly it's not, you know, can't do much about it, because it does seem to need me to leave my computer on for 24 hours, and I tend to turn it off overnight. So, because, well, you know, electricity is expensive these days. So, well, I mean, for example, if I do... no, it's not, wasn't that. I can't remember what I made them, hang on. Zoom, there you go. See, it zooms in. You could be doing this. You could have zoomed it in and moved it around, right? I just happen to know it was 116. Don't ask, right? So yeah, you could have been doing all of that yourselves, you know. But there we go. When it works, it works. When it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But when it works, it's always there for you to play with. That was the whole point. Naughty Cat asked for it, so it's all his fault. But yes, I shall be back tomorrow with any luck. Occasionally I take a random day off because I'm tired. Our Discord is good for notifications of that variety. I do tend to post. Sorry, I'm not going to stream. I'm too tired. So that's definitely a thing. And I know I don't need to put all these cloths on, but it makes me feel bad. You wanted it. Give over. You wanted it. I know you did. Right. Well, you wouldn't have asked, would you? Nah. So Naughty Cat wanted it. So. But it is there for the playing with when it works. But I shall be back tomorrow. I'm going to go and potentially play with buttons. Copy my buttons over so I can use the new big shiny. But yes, I shall hopefully be back tomorrow as long as work doesn't kill me, which is a possibility. So I've got to do this week's timesheet, and I've already forgotten what I did last week. So whatever. I shall see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.